Hello and welcome. Today we're going to do something I've been wanting to do for a couple months now, and that is do some testing to figure out if I'm actually faster in VR compared to driving on a monitor. So I've had this Oculus Quest headset for I think around 2.5 months or so, 2 months, and pretty much since I started using it in sim racing I haven't stopped. I have not driven on my monitor since I got it because I've been having that much fun with it and it's that immersive. But what I'm not 100% sure on is if I'm faster in VR compared to the monitor. So what I'm going to do is we're in race room. We're going to use the 2013 DTM at Hockenheim, one of my favorite combinations. And we're going to see if I'm faster in VR or faster on my monitor. So let's get started. So the DTM car is one of my favorites in race room, and I don't really know why, but it's just this awesome mix of GT racing and some kind of Formula open wheel capability, because these cars have so much grip. You can hustle these cars like you can't other GT cars. It's just a lot of fun. We'll turn a couple laps in VR and then we'll switch over to the monitor and see how we do. I really like my monitor. I got it not too long before I got the Quest actually, but I never used it very much for sim racing because there wasn't much time to before I had the Quest. And it's a nice monitor. I like it. It's the Dell Alienware 34-inch Ultrawide. It's a 1440p monitor, 120 hertz. And it's a great monitor. I really enjoy gaming on it in general. But the Quest is kind of ruined it for sim racing. I just haven't used it. Which is really why I wanted to get it. I was really excited to try Ultrawide. But we haven't done too much sim racing on it, honestly. But right now we're driving in VR. We're on the Oculus Quest, which I've really enjoyed. And honestly, I got the Quest just for kind of family fun. I'm just experiencing VR. And it took me a couple weeks of owning the Quest before I got around to actually hooking it up to my computer for sim racing. And man, I've loved it. It's been exactly what I was always hoping VR racing could be. The downsides to VR, there's a lot of upsides and I really love it, but the downsides are just that you have to have such a powerful computer to make this work. I'm using an AMD R5 3600 with a 2070 Super, which isn't, it's not an insignificant computer. It's not a 2080 or something higher, but even with my setup, I struggle, and it's not a situation where I can just pick whatever I want settings-wise, just max them out and go racing in VR. It's very taxing on my computer, and I have to find that right balance of settings to get the performance I want and the graphical fidelity that I want. And that's something that a lot of these problems don't come up on monitors. So when I say graphical fidelity, I'm not just talking about how pretty it looks, but it's really the clarity. It's difficult to get really sharp vision in the distance. So, at the end of long straightaways, it's hard to pick up some fine details. And the biggest help in the world for that is to do super sampling. And super sampling is forcing your computer to render the game at a higher resolution than your display's resolution. And if you're unaware, the resolutions for VR are massive. So the Oculus Quest has a 2880 by 1600 resolution, which is pretty big. And then you also have to remember that you're asking your computer to render 2 different images, which is what makes the VR have all the stereoscopic effect of VR, give you the depth information. It's a massive load for your PC to draw. So that's a huge downside, is that not everyone can do it. Even if you have the headset, your computer may just not be able to do it. But I know that over time, this is going to become the norm, that everyone in sim racing will be using some sort of headset to do it, because it's just so good. Some of the other things that I would like to see improved over time is the field of view. The field of view now is fine. It's good enough to certainly have lots of fun, as I have been. But I would like it just to be a wider field of view, so it's not so much tunnel vision. You're definitely getting enough information. It's not like you have to look all over the screen all the time, but it'd be nice if the field of view was a little bit wider. And that'll come with time. And there are headsets available that have wider fields of view. But again, you're pushing probably more pixels, and you just really have to have a massively powerful computer to do that. And we'll get there. Oh, and I think I've cooked this lap. Yep. It doesn't look like we've improved at all on that time I set just before recording. But my short review of the Oculus Quest is, A, it's a lot of fun just for general VR. If you've never used VR before, it's a great way to get started, because it's relatively inexpensive compared to the competitors. It's it's an all-in-one solution. You don't need motion towers anywhere, and it's portable. No wires. So it makes it a really great way to get exposed to VR if you haven't. And you can hook it up to your computer for sim racing. And even if you're not ready to do that right now, you know, once you've upgraded your computer down the road, you'll have it and you can do it. So I really can't recommend the Oculus Quest enough for that. Alright, well, I think what we'll do is we'll come back around on this lap. We'll see if we get the clock running one more time and see what kind of lap we set. And see if we can touch that 137.6 up there that I set off camera. Or maybe I have that recorded and we can insert it into the video. Alright, we're going to come around for one more try at this. And then we're going to transition back over to the monitor and see how we do. It's going to be interesting. This looks like a nice solid lap, at least the start of one, if we can hang on to it. And we'll see. I think this will be a pretty good benchmark just to see if we can improve on it. Alright, we did. It was a big improvement. Alright, well, we tried hard. We didn't quite get there. We were off by a couple of tenths, but so it's going to be a really high bar for the monitor to see if we can get ahead of it. But what we'll do is just turn some laps on the monitor and see if we're at least competitive. I think that's the minimum, because I think on any given day I might be a little bit faster, just because my brain's had a chance to rest or whatever. But we'll get in on the monitor and see if we can at least be competitive with the 137.6, or maybe if we can beat it. So stick around and let's find out. Okay, we're set up on the monitor. We're going to hit the track and see if we can't at least be competitive with that time from before, maybe be a little bit faster. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, there was our target time, was a 1:37.6, I think it said. I've got to retrain my brain to recognize breakpoints now that I'm not in VR. And just my body, because I've got a different driving position now. My VR setup, I'm using, this is like a lawn chair or something that is really, it's got me in a more laid out position, kind of like a formula setup. And at my desk I have to be much more upright, so I'm kind of in like a GT car. I mean, straight away, I don't like on that really tight right-hander that I can't look through the corner to see where I'm going. And I think there are some view settings in Race Room that let you, yikes, look through the corner, right? I probably need to get that figured out. This is why I mentioned earlier that I probably was going to give myself a little extra time on the monitor to test this out, because my seating position and everything, there's so many things that have just changed now. I gotta relearn how to do this. Excuse my VR face that I probably have big red lines around my eyes and stuff, and who knows what my hair looks like. But we're not here for fashion, we're here for lap times. Let's see what we can do. The monitor is nice because I don't have a VR headset on. The headset itself, especially with the Quest, I mean, it's heavy, and the Quest is kind of front-loaded, all the weight's up front compared to some of the other headsets, so I've heard that it's not the most comfortable of headsets. But so it's nice not having a headset on. The headset can get a little warm, so my face feels more comfortable for sure. But it would be nice if I could look around those corners. I think some of you may be tearing your hair out saying, but you can change it in the settings! Well, we'll have to give that a shot here in a minute. I want to get some more just general laps in, just kind of get my feet wet driving on a monitor again. My suspicion is that, you know, the human brain is so good at adapting that I'm probably not any faster in VR. I might just prefer it, but I bet you can adapt to whatever you're using, right? And certainly there are people who are way faster than me that are using monitors when I'm using VR, so I know it's not making me faster compared to everyone else. But I think bottom line is that the VR is just so immersive that it's going to be hard to stop using it. But there are certain benefits to driving on a monitor for sure. I already mentioned some of them, just comfort being one of them. The others on the hardware side is it's so much easier to run games on a monitor. So even this monitor with its really big resolution and high refresh rate is an easier thing to deal with than VR because we're only drawing the one perspective. And well, there, we've done it. We've answered the question. I am faster. Wait. Oh, that was for the session lap time, not the overall lap time. Okay. I thought we just took 4/10 out of our time, and I was like, well, that was quick. No, we did not. We took 4/10 off of our session time, which makes sense. We're still quite a ways off. We're a full second off the pace in VR, which makes more sense. I thought I'd have to whittle down. But as I was saying, some of the benefits are on the monitors on the hardware side. It's so much easier for your computer to handle driving on a monitor. So if you have an older system, you will get higher frames from any of your games if you're not using VR. That's a guarantee. And on a monitor, you can really turn, or at least you can turn the graphics settings way up and get a much prettier picture. I haven't messed with my graphics settings for this video because I didn't want to have to go back and figure out all my VR settings again, which I did spend quite a bit of time tweaking and trying to figure out the right balance of visual clarity and performance. Whoop. But on a monitor, you should be able to just turn the eye candy up much higher than you can in VR. And I know for me in particular, I'm giving up a lot of pretty graphics by driving in VR. But I think I'm okay with that. Oh, that's too bad. We had that faster lap in the books. I ran wide. And that might be one thing that we can't overlook too when racing on a monitor, is just how nice it is if your eye gets an itch or your nose gets an itch that you can scratch it. In VR you can't do that because you can't reach them. So you have to have the mental fortitude to withstand that in VR. So my lap times are coming down. I had a pretty competitive lap time that I blew on the last corner the previous lap. So I think I'm starting to come to grips with the monitor setup. I was late turning in there and we just blew that lap, but I think ultimately I'm not going to be light years faster in VR if I'm faster at all. And I do think that that I could catch up to my VR time on the monitor. It's just a matter of kind of retraining my brain to trust the different setup here. Alright, let's see if we can't get a quick lap on the board for the monitor setup. We're driving for all of the Team Monitor fans out there. I turned way too early for her. That's one of the downsides to the monitors, just the difference in depth perception. Like in VR, you don't have to interpret that information so much as you just get it. And on the monitor, you kind of have to think about it. I guess you get used to that, I guess. I think ultimately, like I mentioned before, that you get used to whatever you use. And there's certainly no shortage of lightning quick people who drive on monitors. So it's not that you can't be fast on a monitor. So what I'm curious about is what I'm faster in. But I guess if nothing else, what we're seeing is that I'm not comfortable on the monitor, at least not yet, compared to VR. I feel like I was more consistently fast in VR. Now, part of that might just be because I spent so much time in it. But that really is just where my comfort level is right now. But some of it, I think, is that it gives you that just information that your brain uses to get around the track without having to interpret it. You don't have to filter it. You don't have to change what the game is showing you to put into usable information. If that makes sense. You know, I don't have to interpret depth from a 2D image in VR because I just have depth information. And when I'm on the monitor, I have to interpret that what the game is showing me to get that depth information and to judge my braking zones and everything. And how fitting! my best laps on the monitor and in VR are just so close. I don't remember exactly what it was in VR, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about hundreds or thousands away. So what have we really learned from this video then? Am I faster in VR? Maybe. Am I faster on the monitor? Could be, depends on the day. So really, I guess it just depends on what you like. And I think what this exercise has taught me is that driving on the monitor is still fun. It's been so long since I've done it that I'd kind of forgotten what it was like to be on the monitor. But it's more comfortable. It's nice not being in the claustrophobic headset. But I think it'll be fun to get back into some of my sims and really crank up the graphics settings again. I guess another one that really comes to mind on that front is Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's such a demanding game that it's really hard for my computer in VR. I'm hoping that they can implement some optimizations over time. That stereo or single pass stereo comes to mind that iRacing uses, which is such a massive help for reducing CPU loads. But I think I will spend some time on the monitor in the future. I really want to check out Automobilista 2 with all of the eye candy turned up. So hey, thanks for stopping by, and I guess we didn't really learn a whole lot.